Hi everyone, Jesse here with eTrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the Demco custom fit base plate on our 2025 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. There's going to be 5 main components to look into when setting up your vehicle for flat tow, starting with the base plate. This is going to be the structural mounting point for everything else. And then the second main component is our tow bar. That's going to be the physical link between towed vehicle and motorhome. Then we have our braking system. This is here to help you come to a safe stop by not only relying on the motorhome's brakes, but also using the towed vehicle's brakes to help you come to that stop. Then we have our safety cables. These are here in case of a catastrophic disconnect. If anything were to fail, those will hold everything together so you can get pulled over safely to the side of the road. Then we have our diode wiring, which is going to keep you safe and legal out there on the road by sending a signal from the tail lights on your motorhome to the tail lights on the towed vehicle and allow those to function properly. So that means your tail lights, your turn signals, and your brake lights. Here's a closer look at our base plate installed on our neighbor's vehicle. As you can see, we have some hooks here to mount our safety cables. And we have our arms for mounting our tow bar. The silver part is the arm, and that is removable by just removing this pin so you can go back to a clean factory look when you're not towing. And this base plate actually comes with this skid plate that you see, which is really nice because the skid plate on the Jeep, or at least some models of Jeep, are made of steel and they're really hard to cut. And this one comes with the slots for your base plate pre-cut, and it has that rugged diamond plate look. The base plate doesn't come with a place to mount bracket, but it does come with the bracket. And the way I mounted it up was just using a factory bolt over here and then a self-tapper for the other hole. And that gave us a nice mounting place for not only our diode wiring, but also our brake line and our breakaway switch. And unhooking your tow bar is a very simple process. You'll just pull your pin out here. Ours is kind of old, so it's a little bit rusty, but still does the job. Get our tow bar out of the way, unhook your safety cable. And then, as I said, these arms are removable, so you just pull the pin out, give it a quarter turn, slide that out, and then your base plate comes with a cap to fill in that hole there, just to keep any road debris from getting in there, making it easier to get those arms back in, and also gives you a nice clean look. And getting everything hooked back up is just the opposite of how we took it off. Quarter turn, get that slid in. Also, this base plate is usable with almost any tow bar out there on the market. As you can see, we are using an older Demco tow bar, but you can use it with other brands. You would just have to look into what adapter ends you would have to install on your tow bar. But really, any brand will work. If you have any questions about that, just please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to get you set up so you can hit the road. As for the installation, when it comes to base plates, this one is a little bit easier than some others. However, you do have to remove the bumper. And with our Jeep, we had this winch that was just creating some tight spaces for us. Also, if you're installing a base plate, you're most likely installing other components like your diode wiring or your braking system. So I'd understand if that's not something that you're looking to do yourself. Feel free to check out our dealer locator. You can find someone local to you that would be happy to help you get this installed. If you are looking to see how this gets installed, then just follow along and I'll walk you through the process. We'll begin our installation by removing our skid plate. So we'll have a series of 13mm bolts to take off. Just be sure that you're holding on to it while you take the last bolt off, or maybe have somebody else holding on to it. It is quite heavy, so we'll get that set aside. So as you can see, our Jeep has the factory winch on it with the steel bumper. So if you don't have the winch, some of the steps may be a little bit different, but really the main core of everything is going to be about the same. So with ours, I need to start by getting our shackle unhooked from our winch itself. So from the factory, it comes with a zip tie holding it in place. Just cut that off. And then we should be able to work this off. And there's going to be a cotter pin holding this shackle on. So I'll just take some side cutters and get that worked out. Just get the side cutters to grip on it and kind of work its way out. But we will reuse that, so you don't want to damage it. And we'll slide the pin out and our shackle comes out. This way, when we remove the bumper, we'll be able to easily slide it over our rope and won't get stopped by this. Now on both sides, we will need to remove a plastic covering. It's just going to be some push pin fasteners holding them in. So you can use a tool like this trim panel tool or just a flathead screwdriver. Pop the center out, and then once that center's out, you'll be able to pop the whole thing out. And you have one more on the inside of the bumper here. Same thing. And on the passenger side, we'll get that out of the way and then focus on this electrical wiring harness here. We're going to need to unplug this, so there's a yellow locking tab. Pop that out. And then we'll just have to slide this gray piece up, just kind of pull it up. I don't know if my hand was blocking that, but once you pull up on it, it'll kind of separate the connectors itself. Now we got both those plastic panels removed, and I should say that anything we do on one side, we will do the same thing on the other side. So starting on the driver's side here, we have 4 nuts. They're going to be 18 millimeters. Those are holding our bumper in. So with the winch, it's easier to get to them from the top. In the past, with just regular Jeep Wranglers that I've done, it seems to be easier to go from the bottom. So it really just depends on your setup. But we'll just start breaking all these nuts loose. I removed all of the nuts on both sides, but I did just thread one on the passenger side just to hold it in place while we get this last piece of hardware removed. So this is going to be a 16 millimeter bolt on this side bracket here. And when I remove it, I'll just take that side bracket off and get it out of our way. But with that removed, I'll go back over to the passenger side, unthread that one nut I reinstalled. Then our bumper will slide out. Just remember, this is a steel bumper, so it is pretty heavy. Now we'll set this aside. We need to remove our skid plate bracket here. So we have 2 bolts on the inside. They're going to be 16 millimeters. Remove those. And then it may fall out like that. If it's kind of jammed into place, then you'll have to come up here and loosen this nut and this bolt. This back bolt is a 16 millimeter and the nut is a 13 millimeter. This hole for this support brace is slotted, so once you loosen those up, you can move this support brace and let our bracket fall down. Now on the back side of our bumper mounting flange, on the 2 outside holes, we're going to take one of the thick washers that's in our kit and just tape it up there. I prefer to use painter's tape just because eventually it's going to deteriorate instead of something else that would hold moisture there and possibly rust it. We'll take our base plate and slide it up from the bottom. It is a pretty tight squeeze. So when we're lifting ours up, we do still have this winch bracket kind of trying to fight us. So I took a pry bar just to at least get it started, and then from there tapped it a few times on the bottom with a dead blow hammer, and then we were able to get our hole lined up enough on this side to get a screwdriver kind of jamming it and holding it in place. And then I'll do the same thing over on this other side. Just get one of your holes lined up, and that's going to hold it in place. Now we'll take the bolts that we removed with that side bracket, which the side bracket is not going to be reinstalled, but the bolts are. Add some blue thread locker that is included, and you'll have to get that lined up with that threaded hole. And thread that on. Now we'll take one of our serrated bolts and this nut that's welded on to this kind of curved bracket here. This nut's going to go up through your hole in the bottom of your frame here. And you want to get it lined up with this hole here. Once you get it in place, we can just guide our bolt through that hole and get it threaded on. Our skid plate brackets need to be reinstalled, so we'll just have to sandwich this between the base plate and our bumper beam here. Since we have that hitch support bracket, there are quite a few things to line up, so just kind of work everything around until you can slide your bolt through. And the hardware that we're installing will be a bolt, split washer, then a flat washer. And once you get those all lined up, we're just going to snug them up. The instructions say to lightly tighten them. So we'll just get it so everything's kind of held in place, but we still have a little bit of wiggle room. With our permanent safety cables, which are just here in case of a catastrophic disconnect to hold everything together, you want to route it through the hole on the back with the quick link. And then on the passenger side, I went back to this round tube that goes across the frame and just kind of made sure I wasn't going to kink any of the lines or hoses. On the driver's side, I did take a different route just because I'm trying to stay away from the steering gearbox here. So I just went up above our frame and double wrapped it and got it tight there. And I will probably still zip tie these up to keep them out of the way of that steering. So we need to notch out our bumper on both sides to make way for our base plate. So the picture in the instructions isn't very good. It's kind of hard to tell where they're really talking about. So I really just mocked it up. I noticed that our base plate is kind of lined up with the inside of our outer mounting bolts. So from there it's just an inch across, and then you'll also have to kind of cut out a notch on this angled bracket here. But I'm going to use an angle grinder and get that cut out. So once you cut it out, I'd recommend just mocking it up, making sure that your cuts are good enough for what you need. And then I'd file it down and use some spray paint or paint marker just to make it have a nice clean look and to keep it from rusting. We got our bumper reinstalled and tightened those nuts down, and now we'll go through all of our base plate hardware and get it tightened down. Now we'll go through everything with a torque wrench and make sure it's torqued down to the specifications in the instructions. Next, you'll want to figure out where you're going to mount your diodes and your breakaway switch and all that. So I kind of found a location here that's off to the side. I removed our torque screw here with a T27, and then I installed a self-tapper to hold it up nice and sturdy. And now I did that off to the side like that just to avoid drilling holes in our new skid plate, which I will install now. You just have to slip it over the base plate there, and then we'll install it using the screws that we removed off the old skid plate. Once your skid plate's tightened down, that's about it. That's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Demco custom fit base plate on our 2025 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.